Hey everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen, back with another weekly astrology update, episode 295. On today's episode, we're going to talk about Mercury's ingress into Cancer, which happened on Monday the 1st at 7:55 a.m. And we have three planets in Cancer still, Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury. And when the Sun enters Cancer on the 21st, we will still have Jupiter and Mercury, just no more Venus there. So we're already sort of in Cancer season, and the Sun's not there yet, but we got three planets in Cancer season. Next Tuesday, the 9th, we have Venus and Jupiter conjunct in the sign of Cancer for one last time for 12 years. So I'm loving this harmony for Cancers and my other cardinal placements. It's the blessings from the positive push that you have been doing for this last year. Now you're seeing that. Now you're seeing the tiny blessings coming through to you. You've pushed yourself. You persevered through some really hard energy, especially when Saturn ingressed into Aries. But you guys are now feeling those positive blessings. Next week, the 12th, Mercury retrograde begins its shadow phase. I know, doesn't it feel like we just got out of its shadow phase and now we're back in, and it'll be retrograding in the sign of Cancer. That begins on June 29th, right before Jupiter enters Leo. The Sun, am I talking here? On Sunday, the 14th, we have the new moon in Gemini coming at 6:45 a.m. So I'll be back next week for an episode on that. I just wanted to tell you what's coming up, especially after the Sagittarius moon. I am so sorry, guys. You already know what I was going to say. Where has she been? And we know she's going to come back on and say she's sorry. I have been around, but I am a Gemini, Gemini Mercury, Virgo rising, Virgo moon, Mars and Pisces. So what that means is every time we're in a mutable season, which is Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, or Sagittarius, and there's some planets of different things like Uranus is right now, it really shows up big in my life. And we started this Gemini season out with Uranus in Gemini, which has the first time in 84 years. As soon as we hit Gemini season, my life became super chaotic and all over the place. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it just did. Because they're all blessings, I like to say. Even the hard things are blessings as well. My children, they're getting busier the older they get. And if you have kids, you know that from April to the end of June is just as busy, just to warn you guys, for little babies, just as busy as September to November. Like it might be busier. So we have that going on. And as you know, I'm selling my mother's house, which closes today. So that was one of the biggest things, I think, that really distracted me from everything other than just the busyness and good things, having lots of fun events with friends and birthdays, my own birthday. But selling my mother's house, which is really, really bittersweet. We closed on it today. So in 2 months, beginning April, less than 2 months, I cleaned out every single thing with lots of help with some people in my life. I cleaned out everything. We donated most, remodeled it, and sold it in 7 weeks. So I've been trying to, not enter life. That sounds horrible. I tried to enter life in a way of like closing up everything, right? She's not paying any more bills. She's not going to be able to do anything. So like calling and doing all those things. I know I'm rambling on, but it is bittersweet. And it's nice to finally get this out of the way, and it will free up so much in my life. But also as a 38-year-old woman, it's kind of sad. I'm gonna do a little woe is me, Colleen, for like 2 seconds and share with you guys, only because I've shared this journey with my mother and taking care of her and all of the things that have happened for all these years on this podcast. So I feel it's a little bittersweet. I have no home to go home to anymore. No dad's house. He's been dead since I was 22. No family golf course. They closed that 20 years ago. Ironically, it's up for sale right now again. No grandparents. They're all gone. And now my mom is, her brain's turning back into a little kid with dementia, and her home is gone. So there is this little sadness, the foundation, the foundation of my birth chart is Sagittarius. The foundation of my life is all gone. I don't want sympathy, like I said, because we all have our fates, and I would still choose mine and choose this because it could always be worse. And I had such a good life in so many ways. But I'm just sharing the real emotional complexity I'm feeling right now and going up and down throughout it. Maybe that means soon it's time for me to buy my own home and build my own new physical foundation. I mean, I rent a townhouse, but build that. But it's also a reminder that nothing is permanent in life. And because I was born into the fate of such mutable energy, I was almost born with this knowledge and the life situations that showed up from the time I was a young kid that proved that early on that nothing is permanent. We can, some people, I like to think people who have all like fixed trines in their life, their family home is from the time they're born until they're 90 and their location, but for whatever reason that wasn't my fate, and I'm okay with that. But again, I have a much easier time with letting things go, with letting things move on, because I know that nothing is permanent, even if we want to believe it is. All right, that's my woe is me. That's my little sad moment I had to share with you guys. Other than that, I am happy. I'm good at living both complexities. I don't know if it's necessarily compartmentalizing, but I'm sure in a way, but I'm still feeling. I just can take one moment of feeling and then the next moment on to the new thing, and then one moment of feeling and then next I'm on to whatever's in front of me. I think that's one of the blessings of being a mutable sign, is that you're not really stuck in a sadness, and you can usually have both dualities at one time, where I think sometimes more fixed signs, even some cardinal signs, something happens and they get lost in that for months, for weeks. They don't even want to think about anything else. So that, I think, is one of the blessings. All right, let's talk about Cancer season before the Cancer season truly begins, when the sun enters Cancer. This month, we end a year-long Jupiter in Cancer. Like we have had, that's reflect. We've had Jupiter in Cancer for the year. At the end of the month, it switches into the sign of Leo. So my Jupiter placements and my Cancer placements, my cardinal placements, I hope that y'all look back at this past year and see that you have gained hope again, faith again, love in yourself again, persevered through the hard times, and now you are seeing all of your faith grow within yourself, your surroundings. This is going to be true for everyone with Cancer placements, a rebirth in faith, hope, love, self-understanding. My other cardinal signs won't have as much of this big magic, because Jupiter, that's the biggest, is going to help what sign it's happening in. But there will still be healing energy. It'll still be very beneficial to you, but there may still be some struggles since we have Saturn in Aries. But the struggles my other signs are facing will be met with surprising benefits and help and conclusions, plus a little faith bumps going along the way for these next 2 weeks. In the general, for everybody, what are we going to be feeling? And when we enter Cancer season, but what are we starting to feel now, especially since Mercury ingressed in there? We'll be wanting to spend more quality time together with family and loved ones, getting your home back together or making it comfortable, happy, feeling like it's your own home, having faith in your family or super healing family dynamics. This is a time for strong feminine energy and leaning into that, even if you're a male, maybe leaning into your female relatives. This is a really nice time for creative energy to have a rebirth. I just think we're getting to the bare bones of our home, the bare bones of our soul, the bare bones of our friendships, and really evaluating those things for the positive. My aunt went down this week to visit my mom, who is a Cancer rising, a Cancer moon. My aunt's a Leo. I just don't totally know all of her chart. I definitely think she has a Mercury in Virgo, though. They have had some issues on and off their entire life, my aunt, my mom. Even they're 2 years apart. Even though my mom has dementia, they both are having a really healing and nice time together as sisters. It's very beautiful to hear about from my sister, and it's a reminder that it's never too late to bond or to make up for lost time with a loved one, whether that's a family, relative, friend, lover. You know, especially a sibling and family, someone we're born into with this karma. So the Cancer season lesson here is to remember that it's never too late to bond or heal or forgive. Now that Mercury's in Cancer, it's really bringing to mind where we need to do that, though, where we need to heal within ourselves, like I said, within our relationships. And I know I say this pretty much every other episode, so I'm going to say it again. Remember that resentment only hurts you. I was discussing with a client maybe last week or the week before about a fractured relationship that she had with her lifelong bestie. And they haven't talked for 2 years or so. And it wasn't something terrible that had happened, you know, where you would have to block someone out, just like stupid miscommunication shit, and then it builds over the years. She thinks about her bestie, as she shared with me, often, and thinks about her a lot. And when I had seen her and did her hair, she said that she thought about reaching out to her multiple times, but didn't. And I asked her why she didn't, and she said, well, because she hasn't reached out to me. I said, what's wrong with being the first person to reach out? And she's a Scorpio, so y'all know, shout out to my stubborn fixed placements. I still love y'all. But I said, reach out. Life is so short and it's so fleeting. That's one of the beautiful things I can look at from experiencing so much loss at a young age, is that you really get the understanding. And I've been with multiple people at the end of their time that are still pretty coherent. And you get the idea is like, they don't even remember what they're mad about. They don't even really care, but they sure will regret their relationships that they left fractured. Life is so short and it's fleeting, and we have allowed the outside world surrounding us to really overcomplicate our minds. I want to say over the last 20 years, I've watched clients super change social media, online, 24-hour news. They change, and it's really overcomplicated everything. Everything is so busy. We're always on the go, and that has really compiled into our brain. Most of the shit you're holding on to in your mind, body, and soul is bullshit. And if you sit with yourself long enough and go deeper, you will realize that what you're holding on to is bullshit now. Not even relative anymore, relevant anymore. And you are missing out on valuable relationships, connections, and friendships because of it. In the end, you will wish you would have just reached out. Because one day, I promise you that you will not even care about what you are holding on to today, but will miss what you once had or could have had with said person, place, or thing. So the weekly awakening this week is forgive, let go, reach out. Okay, bitches? We're forgiving bitches now. We are forgiving and moving on. And time again, I hear people just holding on. And I'm like, dude, do you not? That's why I have Be Here Now on my wrist, but I also just got a clock tattooed on my hand. Don't we understand that? Aren't you getting that? If you're listening to this and it's resonating with you in a big way, trust and believe that the universe is telling you to do that, to reach out, to forgive. And oftentimes our own inner pain is projected outward. So we don't want to let go if you go deeper, because it's something within yourself that you've been projecting. It's your own arguments inside your own head. So please forgive, let go, reach out before it's too late. Life is too short, and get over all the bullshit. I get so mad with this right now. All the day long, we've created a world where people, I'm not going to go on a rant, but I might, where everyone is just so afraid to speak their mind anymore. They're so afraid of confrontation, even in a healthy way. They're afraid to say their opinions. They're afraid to do anything. The minute someone gives something back to them, they want to shut them out of their life forever. That's not okay. How did we become that? And on top of that, we're constantly obsessed with worried about, maybe I said that wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. What did I look like when I showed up here? What did I do this? We have become self-obsessed people, but not in the right way. We should be self-obsessed by looking in the mirror and say, damn, I look sexy. Damn, I look good. But instead, we're self-obsessed with the words we speak in a silly manner. I don't know. It's just, life's complicated. Life is fucking complicated, and it doesn't have to be. And I feel like some days I'm like the only person around, except for a few other people I let in my life, where I'm like, wow, I cannot be the only person in this world who doesn't give a shit about all this stupid bullshit. I really can't. But some days it feels like that. So let me finish this episode and talk about the Gemini season. I had said this, or maybe when was my last episode? 2 weeks ago? Geminis, even if y'all didn't sleep, you guys can persevere through your day with Uranus and Gemini. I have had so much energy, even without having energy, but it's coming in this sort of chaotic way. My brain couldn't even sit down to look at the astrology of the week. It really couldn't. And I promise you, next week, this will be much more back into my weekly episodes. Once I sell this house, my life that whole chapter is really going to free up so much, which I would like to tie back into astrology. So we can now look at this season. Like I said, we're entering Gemini season, thank God, without a square to Saturn, because the last 3 years of the square to Saturn, for my mutable placements, I feel like Gemini season, Pisces season, well, that would have been in conjunction, but Virgo season, Sagittarius season, it came with this heaviness, this tiredness, this drive to not move. But now for my mutables with Uranus there, it's coming with an overdrive. So Saturn was taking away the drive and slowing it down. And now Uranus is just boom, just like want full speed. So I'm sure not just my Geminis, but my mutable placements, everyone's feeling a little scattered, a little chaotic, a little bit all over the place, a little bit, look at me, just talk, a little bit more rebellious, a little bit more trying to find their ways, but in these like very sudden awakenings, these very sudden mental awakenings, which having Uranus in the mental sign can really bring. You're just all of a sudden like, wait, I don't like that anymore. I don't want to do that. And I'm going to stop doing that tomorrow. Or wait, how have I not realized that this whole time this is how I respond? Whatever reasoning, the things we're getting into our mind with the Gemini season are coming on very sudden. And almost maybe a little bit like startled in that way, which is very Uranus energy. But the thing is, we might be more chaotic, but Uranus gives a full bump of energy versus Saturn, which was pulling us back. Like I said, I feel like the last few weeks have been sort of nice, the last week or two. And then we're still going to have another nice week this week. I actually think this week, next week, leading up to the new moon in Gemini, I think is going to be really, really good. And I'm curious, and I'll have an episode, promise you, by the time Jupiter moves into Leo, how much that is really going to amp up the fire year. Don't you think? I think I've said this, but this year has fucking flown by faster than ever. We entered that fire year, and it's like, I look back, and it's probably Uranus and Gemini too. So tell me if I'm not alone. I'm like, what the heck just happened? What happened yesterday? Clients will be like, what'd you do last week? I'm like, I actually have no idea what I did last week. I don't even know how to get there. My brain is all over the place. So I hope this helped. I feel like even with this episode, I feel totally underprepared and mentally underprepared. So again, my soul, my mental energy is scattered all over the place. But next week I have some relaxing things I'm doing for myself and things to kind of get my mind, body, and soul back into a normal, relaxed place. So I will be back in time for the new moon in Gemini to talk about that, and then also talk about Jupiter and Leo and all of the rest of June's transit as it finishes out. And I'm like, wait, it's only June 4th. I thought, as I'm saying this, I was thinking that like next week was June 30th already. I'm like, wait, it's already June 4th. But I love you all. Thank you for this episode. I'm sorry if I felt a little all over the place with this episode. I promise you I'm getting my mind back together. I had to come and talk to you guys because I miss it. I was going through the weekly awakening withdrawal, giving it to you guys. And I hope that you guys were going through the weekly awakening withdrawal from hearing from me. I love you all. Thank you again. And I'll be back next week.